Let's be honest. Handling time in your code can be, well, a real headache, but it's also absolutely essential. So we're going to dive in and really get a handle on one of Python's most powerful tools for this job, the datetime module.
Just think about it for a second. Timestamps for transactions, logs for debugging, schedules for running jobs. Time is literally everywhere. It's kind of like the silent heartbeat of pretty much any application you can think of.
And yet, if it's everywhere, why is it such a notorious source of bugs? We've all been there, right? Tangling with time zones, struggling with weird string formats. It's a minefield that can cause some serious issues down the line.
Well, the good news is it doesn't have to be that way. Python actually gives us this fantastic built-in toolkit, the datetime module, that gives you all the control you need. And today, we're going to break it all down so you can tame time with confidence.
Okay, so let's start with the basics. Think of the datetime module as your time toolkit, and inside that kit, there are a few core building blocks you absolutely need to know.
So, the module gives you three main types of objects. First up, you've got date. Super simple. It's just the year, month, and day. Perfect for things like birthdays or holidays. Then you've got time, which is just the other half, the clock part. Hours, minutes, seconds. And finally, the one you're going to use most often, datetime, which you guessed it, combines both into one powerful object.
Okay, so we can represent a single point in time, that's great, but what about measuring the duration between 2 points? Or figuring out a date in the future? Well, that's where this really cool tool called timedelta comes into play.
Think of a timedelta object as just a span of time, like a measuring tape. It can be 7 days, or 2 hours, or 52 milliseconds. And because it's the duration, you can do math with it. As you see here, you can grab today's date, create a timedelta for, say, 7 days, and just add them together. Boom! You've got a new date object for your deadline. It's that easy.
All right, now let's talk about something every single developer has to do, making dates and times look good for actual humans to read. Or on the flip side, taking a date from a text file or an API and turning it into something Python can understand.
There are two methods you gotta know for this. Think of it like packing and unpacking. strfm, the F is for format, takes your Python datetime object and packs it into a nice clean string that you can print out. Then you have its opposite, strpm, the P is for parse. It unpacks a string and turns it back into a useful datetime object you can work with.
So how do you tell Python what format you want? You use these little format codes. Now, don't worry, you do not need to memorize all of them. Honestly, the ones you see here, %y for year, m for month, d for day, and so on, these are going to cover like 90% of everything you'll ever need to do.
All right, deep breath. We're heading into the big one, the topic that causes more bugs than probably anything else we've talked about, time zones. Seriously, if your app is going to be used by anyone outside your own city, getting this right is non-negotiable.
In Python, you have two kinds of datetime objects. First, there are naive objects, and naive is the perfect word. They know the date and time, but they are blissfully unaware of what time zone they're in. That's fine for a quick script on your laptop, but it's super dangerous for a real system. On the other hand, you have aware objects. These are the smart ones. They hold that crucial time zone info, so they know exactly what moment in time they represent anywhere in the world.
So if you remember one thing from this whole section, make it this. For any backend system, any server, any database, always work with time zone aware date times. The gold standard is to store everything in UTC, Coordinated Universal Time. And look at that. The code to get the current time in UTC is right there. It's that simple to do the right thing.
So we've covered the building blocks, we've tackled time zones, now let's put it all together. Let's talk about how to use these tools to write code that's robust and, well, time-proof.
And the use cases are literally endless. You're going to use this for logging events with pinpoint accuracy, for calculating how long users spend on your site, for building schedulers that kick off jobs at the right time, no matter where your servers are. This stuff is the backbone of so many features.
So, to wrap it up with a final checklist. Number 1, don't forget time zone awareness. It is the #1 pitfall. Number 2, be super consistent with your string formats so you don't get weird parsing errors. And finally, always use aware date times, preferably in UTC, for any distributed system. Stick to these rules and you'll save yourself a world of pain.
You know, when you step back and think about it, that's what this is all about.
The datetime module isn't just some boring utility. It's a tool that gives your code a fundamental understanding of time itself. It lets your programs reason about the past, act in the present, and plan for the future.
So, with all these tools now in your toolkit, I'll just leave you with this one question. Whether it's squashing a nasty time zone bug that's been bothering you, or building that cool new scheduling feature you've been thinking about, what time-based problem are you going to solve first?